I thought this deck was dead, but with the metagame being as control heavy as it has ever been, I think this deck has a chance to come back to life. That's right, it's Leech Blink. I thought this deck was dead and gone. I thought there was absolutely no saving it. When you think about how this deck without Leech in it matches up against things like Hela, against things like Bounce, against things like Cannonball, you end up invariably coming to the conclusion that you can't play this deck without Leech. And to me, I was like, okay, well, that means this deck is dead. I can't play this deck without Leech, therefore I can't play this deck. Here's the thing. It turns out that while, yes, leeching into Blink is dead, it is not as embarrassing as I thought to blink into Leech. And that 2 power that Leech got makes this a much less embarrassing thing than it otherwise would be. Converting your Blink into a Leech, converting your Jubilee into a Leech via Blink is very, very powerful. And of course, we have the additional utility of converting your Leech with your Blink into a guaranteed 6-drop as a potential final turn play. That is another powerful option that this deck has. I will take a full mea culpa on this. Every time someone has asked me about this deck, they've said, what are we replacing Leech with? And I have said, the deck is bad. And it turns out the replacement for Leech is just Leech. And I think people need to understand that while, yes, this is a deck that maybe people will hate. A lot of people have been saying, look, KM, why are you putting out all these videos on these decks that aren't very fun? Hela, oh my god, you're putting out a video on Hela, KM? What is going on? A Cannonball deck, KM? What is going on? Why are you only making videos on things that aren't fun? I'm making videos on things that are good. And while this does sort of fall into the category of things that are not particularly fun, this is also a deck that has a very reasonable, and you're gonna hate me for this, fair counterplay option for those decks. When I think of the metagame right now, I think of bounce decks that are heavy on cards like Sage, on cards like Beast, on cards like any variety of 1-drops that they're sending back to their hand with Beast, on cards like Hitmonkey. They care about their on reveals. When I think of the Prof X decks, they very much care about their Cannonball. That is the thing they care about the most. And when I think about the Hela decks, yeah, they care about having their Hela be able to do the thing that it does. So that leads me to the conclusion of maybe we can just play Leech again. And I had a 22-7 record in High Infinite with this deck. It was by far my best performer since the patch. And I think that goes to show that many people, including myself, can be too quick to give up on archetypes like this. Every time I thought about this archetype, it was in the context of, what are we replacing Leech with? And because I was locked in that thought pattern, my answer was, well, if we're replacing Leech, the archetype is unplayable. And it is. So we just don't replace Leech. Nebula is our 1-drop of choice. Of course, the best 1-drop in the game if you're not doing anything else that synergizes with your stuff. So for example, obviously a Kitty Pryde could end up better. Thing like Kitty Pryde Angela is usually going to outpower your Nebula. Sure, but we don't have the luxury of playing that stuff, so we have to play the most self-contained power we can get out of our 1-drop. That is Nebula by far. This deck traditionally has issues with the 2-drop slot, to the point that sometimes we run, or in previous metas we ran, Domino instead of the 2-drops that we have. I'm not that ambitious just yet. A lot of why the Domino package made sense was to include things like Rockslide and Korg. Those were very much aimed at the mirror, because you would want to be playing Darkhawk in mirrors going as tall as possible. The mirror is not particularly common, so I don't feel like that is a reasonable thing to do right now. I'm sure it's fine if you play a bunch of this, but as is, I think what you need to be focusing on is your matchup into other things, and I do think it's likely that you end up with a better matchup into other things by playing multiple 2-drops instead of going for the Domino route right now. Of course, White Widow is one of the 2-drops we don't really have to worry about. She's just so generically good that we are happy with her in almost every situation. She is as good as 2-drops get, with perhaps one exception. Meet the exception. Jeff is basically the best 2-drop in the game, and you run him basically all the time, and this deck is no exception to that. And yeah, we're playing Jeff. There's really no two ways about that one. He's awesome. You can pinpoint exactly where 2-drops start to fall off when it comes to a deck like this, and it is right here. This is the point where 2-drops start to fall off. Quake is a card that I like playing in these decks because we are able to have a little bit of like mild upside playing it early, like flipping some early locations can be useful in cases like Murder World and things like that. It's not the greatest thing of all time. And then of course, if there's a really important location like the Nexus, she will end up being worth playing on the final turn of the game. But that's not necessarily always very likely. She's just basically a pretty good card, and that's about all we want out of a 2-drop, but this is a slot that in the future is liable to be upgraded, I believe. Red Guardian is probably the second best in slot 3-drop for you to have. The combination of Red Guardian and Leech gives you a shocking range of answers against a shocking variety of stuff. This just hits a lot of things right now and is a good rate body. It is the preferred tech option in decks like this because it's just a good card, right? Like you're looking at it and you're like, okay, this lets me hit a bunch of weird stuff. It's also just a 3/5, but also if I want to blink it, I still get the ability off of it. And so when you're looking for replacements, I think you end up starting with something like Baron Zemo. You end up starting with something like Polaris. Like these are the kind of things that I'd be looking for replacements. Maybe Gladiator, but I do not know if Gladiator is particularly an advisable card to play right now. But you're really just looking for a good 3-drop to play instead of him because there's not really a card that's going to do what he can do. Nocturne is 3-drop Jeff, and I get a lot of people who are on my ass about that because they say she's not as good as Jeff. And that's true, she's not as good as Jeff. But she is 3-drop Jeff, which is to say this is the best in slot 3-drop. You are almost always going to run her when you have the option of picking her or anything else. You almost always pick her. She is phenomenally powerful. She is an absurdly strong card, one of the best in the game. I don't think people really get it with this card yet, but as soon as you start playing her enough, it becomes very clear that 3/5 as like the ability to move is kind of unbelievable, and her ability to change locations gives you just sort of free info and ability to deal with awkward situations that you otherwise wouldn't have. And I think a lot of people look at the ability as a bit of a downside. I've certainly lost to some bad Nocturne rolls, and I've certainly won from some good Nocturne rolls, but fundamentally, this is a 3/5 that turns off crucially important locations. This is your answer to weird situations that happen, and it moves around. She is absolutely unbelievable. When you look for a replacement, it's much the same as with Red Guardian. You are just looking for a good 3-drop. The issue is when you look for a good 3-drop, she is at the top of the list. Jubilee is just as good with Blink as she was before the Leech nerf. This should go as no surprise to you, but I was a little bit surprised at just how good it felt to play a deck like this and have the ability to like pull stuff out of my deck, flip stuff into my deck. She's effectively like lessening the RNG. Like this feels like a deck that doesn't actually have a lot of RNG in it unless you just kind of draw all the big stuff at the beginning, which yeah, that really sucks. But this card being converted into Claw, being converted into a 6-drop, like that's just as good as it was. And it turns out it doesn't need, like Leech doesn't have to happen on turn 4. It's actually usually better if it happens on turn 5. And this card being converted into Leech is now 2 points stronger than it was before Leech got buffed. And that's just enough for it to not be totally embarrassing. It's a real play you can make in matchups where Leech is good. And there's a lot of matchups where Leech is good. I was shocked at how often I was like, yeah, let's get a Leech out of this. Claw remains the just baseline good 5-drop you can run. I think if this deck starts to like really go places, we're going to want to consider the Darkhawk package, what we did with the 2-drops last time, because it's generally better in mirrors to go tall instead of wide, which applies basically across the board in these kind of matchups, because if you play a Darkhawk and your opponent plays a Claw, your Darkhawk is winning either of the lanes that the Claw is targeting, and then suddenly you have a 6-drop. It's a very good spot for you. Like, generally, the guy playing bigger stuff in one lane ends up winning these mirrors, which is why the Darkhawk stuff was so important to include in the previous meta, and is less important to include now because mirrors kind of aren't really there. And there's a lot of people playing Professor X, and there's a lot of people playing Cannonball, and you can really rob those people when you do stuff like this. All right, so let's talk about it. I was wrong about this deck, and this is the reason why, because every time I was like, how do we take the Leech Blink deck into the new metagame, I was cutting Leech. That was stupid. My bad. I was just wrong. It turns out we just need to play this card. And while the major issue this deck has is that its points are fairly low, and its interaction cannot drag things like Bounce, like Cannonball, like Hela down to its level, unless you play this card. So, in a weird way, I think Leech is here to save this metagame, because now it's like legitimately not unfair. This is a 5/5. You're not like doing anything unfair with this guy. He's just a fair answer to what a lot of people are doing. Good for him. Blink is just a phenomenally powerful card. The ability to do this controlled RNG thing is so good. Her body at 5/7 is respectable. Like, this is a reasonable unit, and she is a key part of why this deck works. I think the Jubilee Blink stuff is exactly as good as it was previously. The ability to turn Jubilee into Leech as opposed to like something different, yeah, I mean, like, you kind of wish you didn't have to do that, but you do some of the time. And of course, there is the further ability to Leech and then use Blink on the final turn of the game to turn Leech into one of your 6-drops, depending on how you drew during the game. Obviously, Blink will not work if you don't have viable targets for her, and so this deck is prone to having bad draws get worse. One of the things I noticed with this deck was your bad draws are so much worse than they are in other decks of this nature. Mid-range decks typically have like a fairly even distribution where it's like, yeah, we're kind of like a 40 percentile draw here, but we can still win on a 40th percentile draw. The bad draws in this deck almost always involve Blink not being a useful card, because all the expensive stuff in your hand, because that's what made it a bad draw, because that's why you skipped the first 2 turns. That's almost always what's going on when you have a bad draw in this deck. And so in that way, I think she is a key piece. Red Hulk is big as hell. That's it. That's all I have to say. I think people will wonder about Magneto versus Doom, and to be completely honest with you, I do think it's closer than when there were a lot of mirrors running around. But right now, I still feel like Magneto is more relevant into what I'm seeing than Dr. Doom would be. I think there's a lot of high power things going on in the metagame, and I want to have as much power as I can in individual lanes. When you play Dr. Doom, he sort of locks you into contesting all 3 lanes, and that's not the worst thing to do, but it is a little bit predictable. I'm not saying it's bad, just I think I prefer Magneto still at this point in time. All right, y'all, thank you so much for making it through that video, and hopefully for not inundating me with comments about how much you hate Leech and me for bringing this back and all of that. If you are someone who is upset at me for making your experience worse, I mean, at least subscribe, right? Like, come on, you gotta give me that. Like, you gotta give me that. I feel like I deserve that. I've earned that. All right, y'all. As always, I've been Cam Best. We're about to jump into some gameplay with the deck. I had a blast with this. I tried some other stuff. This was by far my best deck of the day. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Cam Best. You've been phenomenal. Enjoy the Cam Boost, and I'll see you in the next one. Oi. Okay. Oh, God. I dropped all my cards. Spaghetti goes everywhere. Hello, Husky. Fuck. We have a problem. Okay, maybe we have slightly less of a problem. This hand is so bad to blink. Hey, that's pretty nice. Yeah, much less of a problem now. This wins, right? Oh, wait, no, it doesn't. How does that win? What am I doing? My God. Oh! Holy shit, that almost killed me. Turn's a great card. Hello. Actually. Because no one wants to play there when there's a Grand Central, yeah? Hela? Black Knight? This looks like Glenn Jones's deck. I need a card that I can play. Luckily, most of the cards in my deck are that. So they swap, huh? They just got it, didn't they? God damn it. Oh, hello. I don't know. Oh, I do know. Let's go. Oh my god, the Drac. Yeah, use a sentence. Use a goddamn sentence. Untapped is leeching second inner for players' data. Again, you're gonna need to type more than that before we really are able to have a conversation, I think. Why did I do that? Am I an idiot of some kind? Answer, yes. I am absolutely an idiot of some kind. That ordering is so bad. That ordering is so ass, it's insane. It was supposed to be White Widow second. My God, what is it like being me? That's some seriously crazy shit right there. It's very cool being me. Unless they have Shang, then it'll be less cool. No. Want a 1v1? No. Get to high ranks, and then we can 1v1. I 1v1 plenty of people in here all the time. Hell yeah. I'm infinite? I didn't say infinite, brother. I said high ranks. You get to high ranks, I'll play you a lot. I'm infinite, buddy? Oh, I'm infinite, buddy. You better not condescend to me. I love you guys. I love you, chat. You're my favorites. You're rank 15. Oh my God, wait, so are you saying I'm infinite, you're rank 15, meaning you're rank 100 and I'm rank... Oh, man! You rock. Keep on kicking ass, brother. That's a good gimmick. I like it. I like what you're doing there. I think you can refine it a little bit and take it to some other Twitch chats and you'll actually get people with it. I like what you're doing, dude. Keep it up. I believe in you. Yeah, like work on the execution a little bit, but I really do think you have something there. That's a good one. Am I about to curve this Quake out? No, I refuse. I've been wondering, one of these smaller streamers, did you beat Boss? I'm over 20k, well, you're still at 15. Did you beat Boss's ass? We didn't play? Wow, I thought he was 1v1ing smaller streamers. Boom! Double burn. Got both your asses. I timed him out and he came back. Fuck yeah. I thought Blinkage was dead too. I don't really want to talk about it. I also thought it was dead. I don't really have a lot of legs to stand on. I thought this shit was dead. And apparently it fucking is not. Whoops. That's all I can tell you. Whoops. My bad. Omega Red. Oh, Jeff sucks. Okay, so Blink turns Jubilee into Magneto or Claw. I'm comfortable with that. A lot of good rips here. Oh, Megalol Red. So if this is Magento, they're fucked. If this is not Magento, I guess we'll see. What are you? It's Claw. Intriguing. How am I meant to approach this? This is kind of fascinating, honestly. They won't Spectrum on the right. Spectrum on the left? Math. Math. Ads? Well, you know you could subscribe. Everyone who doesn't have ads, tell him that he could subscribe instead. Simply sub, yeah. Ow! This. What a kerfuffle. I mean, I wouldn't let him 1v1 even if he did sub. But I'm just kind of interested in knowing what's going on here, you know? Maybe if he 1v1s me? Nope, no thanks. This is a fascinating game. I don't really know what's going on, but I'd like to. Buy 3 ads? Pay me, motherfucker. How's it going? Cool. Okay, so now we just win, right? Oh, wait, he can move that Nightcrawler and put Jeff in, right? Interesting. I don't really know how this goes. He moved. Oh, yeah, he can't move this Jeff. Okay. So, I mean, this makes sense to me. It is consuming me. I am being consumed. They White Widow me. Interesting. Why do they do it there? And also, what are they? I see. I see. Oh, Jesus. Life is so painful, but a Jeff does win it for us, correct? Let's turn off the Cannonball. Oh, Nebula grows twice. Nebula grows once if we draw Jeff, right? It goes to 8, and Jeff gets +8, so it would be a tie. I will play this. I don't know if I should, but I will. Wait, my Nebula's growing. Whoa. Leech is Red Hulk. Quake does not save my ass on right, I believe. Wait, does it actually? Hold on. No, because they can still have Jeff. They can still have Jeff. Oh, thank God. I was about to lose my fucking mind if that was an actual Cannonball. Elsa. Okay, we give them a rock. And what does Mirror Dimension do? Good. That's the good one. Bunch of shit possible here. That's good. Blink is just claw. It's bad, right? The question is, am I leeching? Blink is insane here. Blink is literally just claw. What are you talking about? Jeff into Red Guardian, I meant also possible. Here's what I'm thinking. That was close. That was so close. I don't know why they stayed on winning one lane by 1 point, but hell yeah. Leech is still good. Sniperless? That would never be worth it to me. Never gonna be worth it to me to do that. Alright, I mean, we got a lot of cards that we could draw that we could play, and the ones that we could draw that we aren't gonna play are pretty... I guess the worst one would be, like, Nebula or whatever, and at least she'd be like a 1-3. I just want a 3-drop here. If it's Red Guardian, that's way better. Okay, it's not Red Guardian, and we're kind of sad. However, Jubilee can pull something pretty big on the Quantum Realm, maybe? Except we have all the big stuff in our hand already? Ugh. Skipping turn 3 sucks. Very unpleasant. Psylocke. Iceman. Did not hit Jubilee, did hit Leech. Not sure how I feel about it. That guy's big as hell. This shit on me? I think I'm dead here, right? I don't think I can win that Devil Dinosaur lane. Also, how did they play that on turn... Oh, they Psylocked, right. Okay. Pretty sure that owns my shit. So, do they have a Red Hulk? Or do they have a Jubilee? So if they have a Red Hulk, I think I'm dead, right? Okay, they snap. That feels like they have a Red Hulk, right? They have a Red Hulk and they're playing it on the left location. So this goes down to 12. If I play this, this is 10 power here. They got my Red Hulk, they're playing it left, right? Dude?